New Kontakt Play Series instrument called Melted Vibes. I'm not going to walk you through too many patches, but I will show you what you can expect with this new instrument and a few tips on how to get the most out of it. I got to say, when I first opened it up, I thought maybe I was doing something wrong because all the patches sounded very bizarre. It's very unique, and knowing how to dial back the uniqueness is definitely key with this kind of library. I'm not going to go over the details of a Play Series instrument. I have an old video that goes through a lot of the behind the scenes features of these kinds of instruments, and I'll put a link to that in the description, and that is my Lo-Fi Glow Play Series instrument video. So make sure you check that out. Okay, so let's go over to some synth sounds. Sounds like it's got like a Leslie on the pitch or something like that. So let's go rotator and melt. So there we're getting a little bit more a patch that we could work sort of tonally. Here's an interesting patch, and it's using the sequencer. Sequencer is probably my favorite part of the Play Series instruments, and in my opinion has a feature that every built-in sequencer on a synth should have. If I go over to the sequencer portion of this Play Series instrument, we can see these steps right here. It's triggering a note right here with velocity. If I go like this, now we get kind of a softer note. And then right here we've got our semitones. So if I click on this, we can see that right now it's going up to, I think it was going up to a fifth. And this isn't really bound to a key of any sort because the scale component is not turned on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the scale component on, and I'm going to set it to a minor scale. And then I'm going to set the root key to D minor. So if I were to normally play in D minor, let me turn the scale off for a second. We can hear that one's minor. And then this one sounds minor, which it shouldn't. If we're in the key of D minor, then if I play a B flat chord, then we should have a B flat major chord. So if you don't know anything about chords, this is still going to work for you because you can just play any key and it will adjust this little sequencer here to fit inside the key of whatever you selected it to. So if I set this to D minor, now watch what happens when I play an F sharp, which isn't in the key of D minor. It just rounds off those changes in the sequencer to something that fits in the key of D minor. What about something like if I'm in D minor and I play an A chord? We can hear that's minor, that's A minor. In this case, I want the A chord to be an A major because it's the 5 chord and it can be minor or major. What I want to do is I want to automate this little control here to go major just for that 1 second. So I can right click that, I can go learn MIDI CC automation. And then what I'm going to do is just slide my finger on this slider right here. And so now when I use this slider, I can go between minor and major. I found if I just kind of rotate my finger a little bit, I can switch. So I'm going to go minor, and I'm going to go to major. You hear how I'm switching? It's kind of cool. So it is possible to do this kind of stuff too. You could get really complex with some simple automation stuff and do this stuff even on the fly. Okay, so that's working with the sequencer in a really simple way. Let's load up another patch. And in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we can adjust swing. All right, let's have a listen to this patch. I want this patch to swing. And right now it's just da, 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 da. It's really straight. I want it to be da, 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 da. So I'm going to take the swing and start cranking this. Ba, da, 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 ba, da. What I did is I set the swing on this whole sequencer. And right now, it's not changing much on our pitch and velocity, but what it is changing is some of this kind of interesting modulation that's happening with this little instrument. So these macros are all controlling things like the lo-fi, the rotator, melt control. So if I go back to the main aspect of this sound, just double click right there. So I just kind of cranked up the weirdness on this one. And so now we can hear this characteristic of our sound that is changing because of the sequencer, and it's changing these controls right here. We could go over to these macros and see what melt is all about. And we could go in and start tweaking all of these kinds of characteristics of the sound. And so that's the thing that's so cool about these Kontakt Play Series instruments, is that it's not like it's a sample that has some kind of rhythmic aspect that may or may not work with your song. These are all things that are being controlled by some weird parameter in the synthesizer. And if you can know how to go in there and tweak them, you can make them fit your song. So there's nothing more frustrating than having a really cool synth patch, but there's no way to tweak things that don't fit with your song. So that's what I love about these instruments, but it's probably the thing that most people are not tapping into in these instruments. So make sure you go watch that video on Lo-Fi Glow, because like I say, I go through all of this kind of stuff and get you going on how to really dig into these patches and get a lot out of them. So let's put in some chords. Now I'm going to go mess with this dance motion patch a little bit, because right now this little 16th note thing doesn't really fit in with my song. If I want that same swing, I'm going to have to set this to 8th note. So now we're getting that 8th note swing that we got in that other patch. But if I want this to go a little bit faster, I could just sort of mess around with this little pattern a little bit. And then what I can do is I can even get that same pattern going here. This one was at minor 6th. And now we've got our same pattern, but it's happening with the swing that I want in there, the type of swing. And then I can set the steps to maybe just 8 steps. Okay, so now that we've got those things in there, let's go get a beat. And I'm going to pull up a beat from Trill Raise, the new expansion. And I haven't done a review on Trill Raise, and I do think that this one is really great for people who are getting into Machine for the first time. There's really good patterns and kits that come with it, a ton of good kits. And then it's also got a lot of loops. Doesn't have a lot of sounds. And so if you go to the sounds menu, you're not going to find much there. It does have really great sounding kits though in it. So let's find a kit. And then what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to crank up the speed. I want this take this up a notch. All right, so there we go, we got our beat. Now let's just put some kind of funky lead in there and see what we can find in this new library. There you go. Little taste, couple of little insider tips on the new Melted Vibes Play Series instrument. Make sure you go check out Blesbeat's video, because he actually goes through all of the patches for you, so you can hear a little snippet of each one and really get an idea of what you're getting into with this instrument. So make sure this one is right for you. Anyways, hit the subscribe button and the bell. We'll see you in the next video.